Welcome back. So happy that you've joined us. Welcome back to the COVID-19 War Room. I am Coach Patterson. I will be your host for today. If you're from a different class, welcome. If you're from a different district, welcome. So happy that y'all are all here. So happy that you found us, that you found the video to help your schooling while we go through this COVID-19. And even if we're out of it, you found us. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're in part 2 of the Civil War. Today we're going to talk about a few major battles. We're going to look at some pictures and some artifacts that come from the Civil War, and it should be an interesting ride. So without further ado, let's jump into the computer. So the first battle we're going to talk about is the Battle of Vicksburg. 1863 in July. Right on the border of Mississippi and Louisiana, the Union is going to win this battle, which actually takes place. The victory comes on the same day the Battle of Gettysburg was won. So there's two huge wins for the Union. And this border between Mississippi and Louisiana is going to cut the South in half. We talked about the Anaconda Plan, getting that Mississippi River. And so when they're able to win this Battle of Vicksburg, it's going to become much more difficult for anybody to move supplies or trade or anything like that between Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and even in deeper into the South or further north into the South. When you start talking about, getting stuff from Texas to Tennessee, it's going to become very, very difficult. So this Battle of Vicksburg was a huge victory for the Union, and it's going to prevail them into great things. I don't want to spoil the ending for you if you don't know. So here's just a little picture you can see. This is not of the battle, obviously, but I wanted to put this in here because you can see the commerce that's coming through. These steamboats right here are going to be, holding supplies and everything. You can see all these look like crates on there. These steamboats coming up the Mississippi River, coming into Vicksburg. If you can control that as the Union, you can pretty much control the supply chain of the Confederacy. And we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier when we were talking about it, but this is the Battle of Gettysburg. This was the final time that the South invaded into the North. So we talked about the South's plan was to just, protect the homeland. So they wanted the fight to come to them. They saw an opportunity that they thought they could get to in Gettysburg, and they thought they could go up there and win a battle, cripple the North. End up being a 3-day battle, July 1st through the 3rd in 1863. One of the deadliest battles in the Civil War in American history as far as U.S. Casualties, because again, you're fighting American versus American. So anybody that dies in this battle is going to be an American casualty as they count it. So with General Lee being defeated, things are not looking really good for the Confederate Army. So here's the turning points of the war. We talk about 1862 to 1863. If you remember back to it, we actually have the war start in 1861, and so we're about 2 or 3 years removed by the time we're talking about this stuff. But you can see the major battles that kind of happened. So we got Gettysburg up here, we got Fredericksburg coming on down here. You can see the Battle of Vicksburg right here, direct line up that Mississippi River. So it's going to cut off all of this area east of that Mississippi River. And so it's going to be pretty detrimental to the Confederate Army. Now these ships right here are going to be representing the Anaconda Plan in action. So you got these naval blockades going in so that the South cannot get any of their supplies to where they need to be, and you start to see the Union kind of pull away with this war. So let's talk about the casualties in the Civil War. We kind of talked about, it being the most deadly battle in American history. That is true because they're counting everybody as an American. So American soldiers killed is whether you're on the south side or the north side, you're going to be an American soldier. So 1 out of every 5 soldiers are killed in battle. More Americans are killed in the Civil War than World War I and World War II combined. In total, the North lost 360,000. Yeah, that's right, 360,000 lives. The South is going to lose 260,000 lives. You can see that the North lost 1,000 more people, give or take. So you would think like, man, the South did really well. Well, when we look back at that infographic from part 1 of the Civil War, you can see that the North had population. I'm not saying population to spare. You never want people to die. But they had way more people that could fight and were able to fight. And so that 100,000 more mark is not going to be as crippling to the North as it would have been to the South. So in total, you got 600,000 lives lost. So this graphic actually has it at 620,000. The number's not ever going to be exact. So World War II, we had 318,000 people. World War I, 115,000. Vietnam, 56,227. Korean, and so on and so forth. You can read, you can see the numbers, you can see the graph. It's a vast difference. I mean, you're talking about double World War II, which was a pretty deadly war in its own right. So a lot of casualties in the Civil War. Just some pictures here. Civil War was an interesting time because we get kind of the first photographs coming out. So these are just battlefield photos that were taken. You can see it's not 2020 standards for technology, but it is pretty interesting to see kind of the technology that they had back then in the 1860s and what they were using. So here you got a picture of an ambulance. Obviously no lights, no sirens, but you do have horses and some buggies. So they put these people on the stretcher, they'd load them in there, and then the horse and buggy would take them to wherever they needed to be. Crutches, kind of a, back here in the back, kind of a old technology, I guess. Nowadays we got, 2 things coming off of them into one single point. This is just basically a stick and something to go under your armpit. To me, they look pretty tall. I mean, longer than the gun. So this guy must have been a pretty tall little fellow there. Just like any other war battle back in the day, you're talking about they're marching to places, and you got drums that they march to keep the company and everybody in the same step, so they look uniform and intimidating on the battlefield. This is the 54th Massachusetts. This is an all-black army. One of the more interesting things, because you can see African Americans fighting for their cause, where any other war, I think this is the first time that they really show up, and as far as fighting for the cause by choice. Not, we see him in the Texas Revolution with William Baird Travis's slave and Jim Bowie's slave and all that, but they weren't really there by choice. But this 54th Massachusetts Brigade there by choice, fighting for their cause. And that's it. That concludes part 2. Happy that you're here. Happy that you joined us. Hopefully you got something out of it. In the next video, we are talking about Texas's role, the Texas role in the Civil War, how and where there were battles fought, and then we're going to end the war. We're going to see who wins. I'm sure you have a prediction at this point if you don't know already. So If you don't have a prediction, you probably might want to get one. Everything is kind of pointing towards one group winning it, and we'll see if that kind of comes into play in the next video. So thank y'all for watching. Hopefully you catch the next one, Texas and the Civil War and the end. If you need anything from us, do let us know. We're here to help, and I hope you're staying on top of your schoolwork, and we'll see you in the next one.